I used to be retarded. No, I'm not kidding. When I was in elementary school, the first thing that the teachers did is they said that I could not read. So I was first put into Title I reading for kids that were reading challenged. Then they put me in special ed and labeled me with retardation syndrome. I literally was in a class with other students that were drooling. Fortunately, my mother, who was a teacher, had me tested, and with better testing, it was discovered that I was actually at a very high level of intelligence, so much so that it awarded me a scholarship to a private school based on those tests. But by the time I got to that private school environment, I was really shut down. I wore a hoodie all the time. I was often non-communicative. I had sensory issues. And I would a lot of times leave the classroom on my own without permission and go hide under things, including cubby holes. By modern day standards, I would have been put on the spectrum, for sure. Fortunately, I had a remarkable teacher that would give me some space, and he would go check on me as I would be hiding somewhere, and he pretty much left me alone. He knew I was going through something that was full of emotional pain and turmoil, problems from my disrupted home life, and also just being overwhelmed by the very real fact that I didn't fit in with the other kids. That was my 5th grade year, and that teacher let me do nothing, but he was loving and caring and attentive, and he had a gut feeling about some part of what I needed, and he gave me that space. It's like I was in a protective shell and just kind of shut down, and he knew that. The next year, I repeated 5th grade with the very same teacher, but this time I came out of my shell and I started reading and participating. I was like a completely different kid. And the books I was reading on my own were very advanced books. In fact, I fell in love with reading. My intelligence level actually started to shine. And the next few years at that private school setting, which had a higher academic standard than public schools, really put me ahead, and I was all for it. By the time I went back to public school, which was in junior high, they really couldn't place me. I ended up not needing to take math for the rest of junior high and high school, and also English. I was placed in advanced English and got to take classes like creative writing, and I was really ahead of the average student at that point. At that time in junior high, I was enrolled into the TAG program in public school. This stood for Talented and Gifted. So these were advanced classes, and it allowed me to take the higher level classes and also skip some of the classes because I favored the academic side. And so I didn't have to take PE going forward. By my junior year in high school, I decided to take college at the same time. So I enrolled in a community college, and I was getting dual credit. So I was going to high school part of the day and then college at night, taking night school as a junior in high school. For my senior year, they brought me into the office to tell me that the years that I had given up my physical education classes were now required in order for me to graduate. And so I was a senior in high school, and they enrolled me in multiple 9th grade, 10th grader PE classes, and so that's what they wanted me to do. And so I dropped out. I decided to just go to college for my senior year, and that's exactly what I did. I enrolled in college, and I didn't take a GED. I met with 2 college counselors and asked if I could do that, and they said I shouldn't. And I said, I'm not asking you if I should or shouldn't. I had no parental supervision at that time. I lived on my own, and I was on my own because of a broken home life. And I was looking out for what I wanted to do. And they told me, well, yeah, you can actually do it. So I did it. You take a placement test, they check your English and your math, which I was great. And then I matriculated, and I was a college student for my senior year. As it turns out, I really do like learning. I love learning. And I've stayed in school. I, after that, got a bachelor's degree, 2 master's degree, and 2 doctorates. And the reason I bring that up is because of the starting point. They said I was retarded, and they said I couldn't read. That's what the public school system did to me, and as a result, really, they were part of shutting me down and putting me in that shell where I didn't fit in and I was picked on by the teachers. It's also worth noting that it was one special teacher that broke the shell and got me back out, but I don't think that kind of teacher would be allowed to teach nowadays. I love teaching and pedagogy, the whole learning process, and how to effectively transmit information to others in a meaningful way. If you have a child that has been told that they're ADHD, or that they're disruptive or hyper or can't focus, it's possible that they have some sort of challenge, and you're going to have to deal with that. But it's also possible that they're bored and that they're actually talented, and that even if they're not of especially high intelligence, they just need an environment that stimulates them in a way that fits them, instead of fitting into a system that requires you to sit still for hours at a time, listening to information that's irrelevant. What's even more alarming is that many of these kids are just put on psych meds, like heavy-duty psych meds, drugs that are amphetamines, and it's a wrecking ball to their hormone system, and it's not what they need. It doesn't improve the natural functions of the body, and it doesn't cater to their learning style. It just drugs them. Our education system needs to change and not be so rigid or test focused. We need to bring back our humanity into education, just like we do with healthcare. I know that there are real challenges with kids, and I would imagine that I was a real challenge. I wasn't so much disruptive, but if I'm a suffering kid, which I was, and my mom was a single mom, it's like, what do you do to help this kid? And your options might be limited if you're already stressed out and have no extra income. There's a huge rise in homeschooling, and I think this is an option, if the state allows it, to explore smaller groups for children that need it, and then to seek support from other parents going through something similar. But I don't think that the kid should be picked on by the teachers, by the system, or medicated. I think that should be a last resort. The medication, not the picking. You should never pick on a kid.